So hello, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today I have just a thrift flip. Today I have a thrift flip for you. I just have this men's button-up top here that I got from my dad. It's pretty oversized. I'm going to try and transform this into some kind of top that's cute, I can wear for summer, kind of trendy, but also unique, and also kind of different from what's already out there. I know there's tons of like button-up thrift flips already, so let's try and do something different, something special. And if you want to see how I do that, then just keep on watching. So for the first step, I just laid out the shirt, and I'm using a seam ripper here to just take off both of the sleeves. But honestly, using the seam ripper took so long, especially if it's a well-made shirt. This took me like half an hour, and that is time I will never get back. So in short, just use scissors and cut off the sleeves. Once the sleeves were off, I just put them to the side, and then I took a straight ruler and drew a line straight across the top of the shirt, just an inch or two above that top button. Next, I measured across the front of my chest where I wanted the neckline to go, which ended up being around 26 centimeters. So I divided that measurement in half, which was 13 centimeters, and then starting at the middle of the line we just drew, as you can see, I marked off 13 centimeters on either side just to make sure it was even straight across the front. Then at the very end of that line, I marked downwards by 5 centimeters and then connected both of the marks we just drew, so both the 5 centimeter and the 13 centimeter, with a slight curved line. Then starting at one side, I cut off the top of the shirt following that shape we've just drawn. At this point, I actually started working on the sleeves because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do for the body yet. So I measured along that curved, like connecting line we drew before, which was about 11 centimeters, and then I pinned down that measurement on either side of the sleeve, just starting at the seam and going outwards. And then I cut on the inside of those pins about 1.5 centimeters deep, and I continued cutting a straight line just across the sleeve until I reached the other pin, and then I removed the pins and folded that sleeve edge that remains downwards, again about 1.5 centimeters, which is just going to even everything out again. That's kind of confusing to explain, but I'm hoping you can just follow along. Also, just make sure that the sleeve is inside out while you're doing all of this so that the rough edges are facing the inside. So once you're finished pinning, you can take it over to your sewing machine and you're going to sew a straight line along the edge of the fold we've just made to create a channel for the elastic we're about to put in. But first, with the sleeve folded in half, start at the top of the seam and then mark downwards by 5 centimeters to make sure that the sleeve will be able to eventually connect to the body. And then you're going to draw in a curved line again, similar to the one we drew before, connecting your mark to where the folded edge starts. Now grab a piece of elastic which is long enough to fit over your shoulder with a little bit of stretch. I made mine about 27 centimeters. And you're going to attach a safety pin to one end and use this to feed your elastic through the channel we made previously, just spreading the gathers along the length of the elastic as you go. Then just sew straight across both ends, just making sure the elastic will stay put, and do that for both arms. Then you're going to turn your sleeve right sides out again and lay it flat, starting at the edge, mark downwards 20 centimeters, and then use that as a guide to mark a straight line across your sleeve. And don't forget to do the other side as well. Now I'm taking some elastic thread to make a little bit of ruching on our sleeve, and I've hand wound that around the bobbin. And you want to do this by hand so that your machine doesn't stretch it out as it's doing this. Now just thread that in as you normally would, and we're going to sew across the line we just made on the sleeve. Then I'm also sewing in a seam, or not a seam, but like a line above and below the one we just sewed in to make like 3 strands of ruching around that circumference of the sleeve. Using a little sewing needle, I'm just pulling all of the loose threads through to the inside of the sleeve, where I'm just going to knot them with the elastic just so that nothing is coming undone, because elastic can be a little bit finicky. Moving back onto the body of our top, I've just undone the front button and I'm making a hem by folding over about 1/4 of an inch and then folding that over again and then sewing straight across the front. And also I'm doing this to the back as well. Just make sure that you're not sewing over your buttonhole. And I'm also seam ripping the sleeve, or not the sleeve, the pocket, oh my god, because I just don't want it in my top, but it's totally optional. Next, I'm just measuring on my body how long I want the top to be, and then I'm taking that measurement and just using it to crop the top, making sure to leave a little bit of extra fabric at the bottom for a hem, and also that it is not too close to a buttonhole because we don't want to cover one of those up. Then I'm marking a straight line down from the end of those curved lines that we drew in the beginning, aka the armholes, and I also decided to cut these a little bit deeper just because of the fabric we lost when we folded over the top hem. Then I am just turning the fabric so it is right sides together, pinning down both sides, and just sewing a straight stitch down. Now I'm going to sew in some darts in the front by first making a line down both sides of the top that is 12 centimeters in from the edge. Then from the bottom, I am measuring up 12 centimeters along that line and then just making a little mark. And along the bottom edge, I'm also marking around 1.5 centimeters along both sides of that line. And the reason there's already a line there is because at first I had tried 2 centimeters, but that seemed like too much. And then you're just going to connect both sides of like the marks you just made upward towards the 12 centimeter mark. So you're basically just making a long triangle shape. Hopefully this isn't sounding too much like math. Just watch what I'm doing and it shouldn't be that hard. To sew in the darts, you're just going to fold along the line you made on either side and then put a pin on the very tip of the triangle and also on the edge, making sure both lines are lined up equally, and then you can just sew down the edge of the triangle. When you're done, your darts should look something like this. I then tried on the top, but as you can see, it was a bit too big for me, so I decided to mark in around 2 centimeters along both sides, and I just sewed up along those lines to make it a little bit more fitting. I also decided I wanted to crop the top a bit more, so I just took a ruler and I cut a line straight across the bottom. And again, while you're doing this, just be wary of where your buttons are. Mine are quite spaced out, but they'll definitely vary from top to top. Then I flipped over the top and I decided to make a few darts in the back as well, just following the exact same process as I did before. So I measured in by 12 centimeters and then I measured up by 12 centimeters. On either side of that line, I marked 1.5 centimeters. And then I just made a little triangle and sewed along that line. And I just cut up both sides of the top, getting rid of any of the excess fabric. Then I opened up my top, having the right sides facing out, and I tried to put down the sleeve, but then I realized that because of the hem we've sewed in before, the armhole edges no longer fit together. So to fix that, I just measured along one edge of the armhole on the body of the top, and then I marked down that exact amount onto the sleeve, just starting where the edge of that elastic is. And I'm just making sure here that the sleeve is folded equally in half. And then I made a curved line from the end of that measurement we just took and back into the side seam of the sleeve, creating almost like a large oval shape. And this doesn't have to be perfect because it will be hidden underneath the arm when you actually put the top on. So once you've then sewed across that line, you can flip the sleeve right sides out again and align the armhole, which should fit perfectly this time, matching up the seams and the sides, and then sew a straight stitch across. Now your top should look something like this. All we have to do is fold up the bottom edge by just folding up around 1/4 inch and then folding that up again just to create a clean finish. Just pin it down, sew along the edge, then just iron all of your seams and your darts flat to create a professional finish. So here's how the final top turned out. I love the sleeves, like this ruching part here worked out really well, and it's got like kind of that prairie kind of vibe. It's quite cropped, so I think it would look best with like high-waisted pants, but you could wear it with like jeans or trousers, and you could dress it up or have it like for every day, and I'm so happy with how it looks. I think you could definitely see this on Nasty Gal or like something like Pretty Little Thing. But we made it ourselves. I think with thrifted clothes, the trick is to make sure you're sewing lines like as straight as possible, and then once you iron everything out, it can actually look pretty professional. thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. And if you make anything similar to this, if you try this tutorial out yourself, then please tag me on Instagram at SalonAlice, and I'd love to see what you come up with. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.